Professor Richard Wolff weighs in on how economies can deal with Trump's pandemic. Check it out, leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. As in Professor Wolff. Professor Wolff, welcome back. I have kind of two questions for you. The first one, I've been reading about, how many European countries, Boris Johnson, for example, in the UK, put the UK back into lockdown, or at least England back into lockdown. And the government is providing everybody with 80% of whatever their paycheck was up to a certain, threshold, without even going through the companies. What lessons can we learn from other countries about how to allow an economy to survive and then to salvage it afterwards as a consequence of a pandemic?
Well, I think the tough word that I'm going to use, however daring it may still be, is socialized medicine, for one. A socialized medicine system, whether it be a Medicare for All or the National Health Service in England or any of the equivalents across all other industrialized countries except the United States. What those socialized medical systems do is organize long before a virus hits, not only to handle it medically, to have stockpiles of all the requisite ventilators and masks and gloves and hospital beds, but likewise to have trained personnel, to have the stuff distributed properly where populations are concentrated, and then be able to mobilize really all the public and private resources needed to really wage war on a virus. We don't have any of that. We have blocked the development of a national health service. We've done it for decades, as you well know, and as you have documented. And so we are left flat-footed and unprepared in the manner of other countries. The same applies to economic downturns. I mean, I'm a professional economist. I can give you the dates every 4 to 7 years where every capitalist economy in the world has a downturn. We have words for that: recession, depression, bust, crash, collapse, downturn. I mean, the language is full because it's a regular recurring phenomena. You ought to be prepared. For example, if large numbers of people are suddenly rendered unemployed, give them governmental financial support so that their suffering of unemployment doesn't spread to knock out all the businesses that they would otherwise have no money to spend in if they're unemployed. I mean, that doesn't take rocket science to figure out. You have to have a program in place. You have to have the services that can deliver that kind of cash to people. All of those things are missing in countries where the word socialized is too close to socialism and is therefore a society that runs away from the collective organization that is required to be successful. And that's why, even in a country as close to us as the UK, they still in all have a national Medicare for All, and they still in all have a powerful Labor Party tradition that means you've got to take care of workers. You can't let them, as we're doing right now in America, 25 million of them, simply go out there and be unemployed, facing a Thanksgiving and a Christmas where even the meager unemployment compensation is going to be taken away. It's beyond words for me, to be honest.
Yeah, this is somewhere between sad and outrageous, or both.
That's right.
I'm also reading this morning that the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF, the Israeli military, is specifically preparing for Donald Trump to strike Iran before he leaves office. They're saying to the public, we're not doing this because we have, because Trump told us he's going to do this. We're just getting ready. And Pompeo is in the region, and he just repositioned B-52 bombers into the region, which were not there before. And I don't know if they're there yet or if they're on their way. If Donald Trump was to start a war with Iran, what impact would that have economically on the world and on the United States?
It would have multiple effects. One of the horrors of it is that many of them can't be known in advance. Iran is a major producer of oil. If you attack Iran, Iran will attack back. This is not an adversary poor and militarily unequipped, like, for example, Afghanistan or Iraq or Libya or Syria. This is a powerful, integrated, well-armed adversary, and it's going to be painful. Just as when Trump killed that Iranian general a couple of years ago, the Iranians immediately retaliated with a rocket attack on an American base, doing major damage, even though that was hidden for a while. You're going to see alliances brought into bear. The Russians are allied with the Iranians, linked to them militarily. I don't know, nor does Mr. Trump, how the Russians will react, especially at a time like this. I don't know how the Europeans, let's remember, we the U.S., withdrew from the Iran deal. The Europeans did not. The Europeans have good relations with Iran, are busily evading American sanctions so that they can expand their current business with Iran. They need Iran, and they will not be happy that once again the United States, acting unilaterally, damages them. You know, we have very strained alliances with the Europeans, and those strains are going to go to the breaking point if anything like this sort of disruption were to occur in all of the expanded linkages that connect Iran with Europe. And finally, every other country in the world is going to look at the United States, particularly if this is done at a moment of regime change, as being so out of control, not only to have let Mr. Trump do his thing for 4 years, but to permit him to go out under these circumstances, provoking a war as if with COVID, the climate crisis, our internal racial conflicts, we don't have enough to struggle to cope with. It really, again, I like your language, is somewhere between sad and outrageous.
Yeah, and very concerning. We have about a minute and a half. I'm curious your thoughts on where our economy is going over the next few months.
Well, you know, the British put out a statement today saying that their economy is in such bad shape that they expect the winter to be the worst, I'm quoting now, in 300 years. Our economy is now turning down because we did not learn the lesson that if you don't deal with this disease, it will drag your economy down. There is no trade-off here. You can't afford to reopen an economy at the same time that you don't have in place a fantastically more developed antiviral system than what we have. And now we're seeing the results. The so-called recovery is petering out. Unemployment is going up. Businesses are closing. The COVID is completely out of control and will now produce yet again economic turmoil. It really does make me the kind of person who just sort of shakes his head, hesitant to answer your perfectly reasonable question, because I don't want to depress everybody with the honest answer.